rose ceremony, the fantasy suites, holy matrimony. Oh, won't you please take this rose? Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Buns and Roses, my Bachelor recap podcast. I'm Snax the Bunny, and I am so excited to break down this week's show. This was Hometowns, oh my God, with my home girls. We got Kat, Lizzie, and Santina. What up, ladies?
Hi.
Hi.
This is so great. So, I mean, just to get it out of the way, before I even read your bios, the way I know all of you ladies is from our mutual fandom of the TV show Beverly Hills 90210. Lizzie and Kat host the Blaze podcast, and Santina and I are frequent guests and just fellow lovers of the zip code. Is that right?
So
Yes.
right.
Not only is it right, the three of us have discussed how there were some like heavy 90210 references in this episode alone of The Bachelor.
Oh my God, I can't wait to learn about that because I didn't pick out any of them, but I would love to hear all about that. First, I'm going to introduce these beautiful guests. So we've got Lizzie and Kat. Lizzie Leader and Kat Spada have been on episode-by-episode journey through the original Beverly Hills 90210 with their podcast, The Blaze with Lizzie and Kat, since 2014. Follow The Blaze on social media at 90210 Blaze and follow Kat on Twitter at CatXMachina. And so before we get to introducing Santina, for the two of you briefly, can you tell us your Bachelor journey?
I think Lizzie should start. She has
I mean,
more.
Well, the briefly kind of throws me for a loop because I really have been here for 32 seasons.
Oh,
But
yeah.
what I'll say is, let me go more contemporary and say that my Bachelor journey is really beautifully aligned with both of my fellow guests.
Okay.
So with Kat had never watched. I had watched for so many seasons, but I forced her to watch. Who was the Bachelorette? I don't remember. All I remember is Chad.
Yeah, Chad is the only
I think that's
the
contestant
roid
that I
head.
remember.
JoJo, right? That was JoJo's season.
No, I don't think.
Yeah, I think Chad was on
No,
JoJo.
that
Later than
sounds-
JoJo. Oh, right. I was thinking of, who am I thinking of? I was thinking of, okay, Papadopoulos. What's her name?
Deanna.
Thank you, Deanna. Okay, yeah, it was JoJo's season. That is right. See, but most importantly, it was Chad's season.
Yes, I mean,
There were
obviously.
a lot of pull-ups, a lot of like drinking raw eggs,
A lot
Gaston
of cured
style.
meats, a lot of, a lot of salami acting.
Roid rage. So that's where she started. I mean, can you imagine
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the start of your journey? And we got to be on an EW Bachelor recap series with our good friend and also fellow podcast guest Julia Cunningham. And it was the first time that a certain Robert Mills, who's head of reality programming at ABC, called in. We were there for it, remember? And I think he's now
Yeah.
her like weekly guest. Pre-COVID, I watched almost every episode every week at Santina's apartment. We live not that far apart. I would come over and we'd watch together because it's like kind of depressing if you're alone, but super fun if you go over to the apartment of a comedian like Santina. So with that, I will turn it over.
I definitely agree.
Yeah.
I think The Bachelor is so much more fun to watch with somebody else. Kat, did you have anything else to add?
Just that I had seen a couple of episodes. So when we were watching JoJo's season, and this was in 2016, we did email Chad to see if he would want to come
Thank you.
on the Blaze podcast. Because I think maybe we knew we would be coming up on a dating game episode of 90210 and thought, oh my God, Chad would probably take any opportunity to plug his, I don't know, protein powder or what have you.
Oh my
So
God.
emailed him in July of 2016. Did not get a reply until February of 2018, at which time real Chad Johnson emailed, still want to do a podcast, ?
Oh my God.
So
Like we're playing it cool, but like I do want him back to talk about his OnlyFans, Kat, right?
I didn't know. Yeah, and this is the first time I've watched a season all the way through, and All I really have to say is I hope the pandemic is over before the next season of The Bachelor so that I have other opportunities to hang out with my friends, because
Definitely.
I think if the show was half an hour once a week, I think I'd be in a much different headspace about The Bachelor. But didn't it used to be like 4 hours?
I was about to say, this is pared down. It used to be 4 hours a week.
It's so long. Oh my gosh.
It's a big commitment.
I would just want to point out really quick, Kat, your Temecula Road background is a thing of beauty. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. They're my favorite band. I love their song, which I think is probably entitled I Love to Love Love or something.
Yeah.
And
it is entitled.
I can't. Yeah, I wish I could have a private concert from the only band that could quarantine in wherever Pennsylvania.
You just put that out in the universe, and I hope the universe listens and responds. Thank you so much, Kat. All right, we're going to introduce our lovely Santina Muha. Hi, Santina. Santina Muha, previous Snacks of Life podcast guest. You may have seen Santina on the big or little screen, from the sitcom One Day at a Time to the film Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot, among others. Or from her work on the internet, such as her comedic music video, Ass Level. And oh my God, if you have not seen that video, stop this right now and go watch it. It's so good. Santina has several other projects in the works, and you can follow her on Instagram and Twitter at Santina Muha to see what she's up to next. Hello, Santina. It's lovely to see you again.
You too. Always fun to see you, Snax.
The last time I saw you, we made cannoli dip, and you taught me how to speak Italian, and it was beautiful. I love that so much.
See.
And the last time I was with this whole group was when the three of us went to see Snax live
1 year ago.
So go see live comedy.
Yeah.
Wait, speaking of live, how is your singular biofax, Santina, not that you've been in a Bachelor musical? Or was that covered in the last episode? You've been in the Bachelor live.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I want to know about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's sort of, my Bachelor journey is such that I started in the very, very beginning with the first season, and I watched, and I was a big fan of the Trista season, the very first Bachelorette, you know. I wanted her to pick Charlie. She picked Ryan, and they're still together, so I was clearly wrong. Good for her. And and then I watched for a few years. I really loved, one of my favorites was Lorenzo, the Italian prince from New Jersey, because I'm an Italian princess from New Jersey. And fun fact, I sat across from him at a fashion show years ago in New York, and his date was Catherine Forbes, the daughter of Forbes guy. So anyway, that's just a little tea for you. But yeah, so, okay. And we're still Facebook friends to this day. So he was a nice guy. But anyway, then I sort of got too busy to watch The Bachelor, because it is a commitment. It is a time commitment. And I was in college, and I was, whatever. I didn't care. And then I don't know how I got looped back in, but once they get you, then it's like sort of like, a soap opera or something where you have to see, they get you because they get people from the last season and the next season. So they, you got to watch that one, and then they just keep going. And then, yes, I had the opportunity last year to be in the Bachelor musical at the Upright Citizens Brigade, which now will be making an even wider tour. It's doing really, really well. It has a really fun TikTok page. You can go see some of the, I'm on their TikTok page too. And it was a fun, silly thing.
Okay.
I'm not going to be in the big grand tour. I can't sing. I'm lucky they even let me be in it at all. But, yeah, it was fun. It was very, very fun. And we had several contestants come and see. We had Will's.
I think we were there for that. Kat, was it Will's that was there when we went to see it?
Yeah, he was in it. He was
You mean Wells?
Not Wells.
No.
Will's. I know. He did. He had a cameo. Jared and Ashley I came and watched from the audience. Nick Vial came and watched one time. And we had Robbie came from JoJo's season. He was really hot.
I remember how high his pants always were. I mean,
he was hot in person. And I don't know if you girls know this, but I have a huge crush on Chad. I know we're all supposed to hate him and he's a jerk. But I'm from Jersey. I'm from Jersey. Jerk is my type.
No, same with Kat, evidently.
I was really taken when he didn't have workout equipment that was up to his level. So he strapped his protein powder filled suitcases to his waist to improve the difficulty of his pull-ups. And I was like, this man has a real commitment to his body. I'm not mad at it.
Not either. In honor of you, Snax, I'm having snacks during this pod, just so you know.
I love it. And on Tina and Dina, your amazing show, Upright Citizens Brigade, I saw it on UCB Sunset. On Tina and Dina, they are always snacking during the show, so I expect no less from you, Santina Muha.
Yeah, eating during shows is becoming my brand.
It's your brand. We love it. Love to see it.
I just want to say that then, and I forgot this part, but like, glad I saved it till the end. Our journeys merge. That's really the beautiful thing.
Exactly.
We're on this journey too, and it's together. So we watched this entire season, not even in anticipation of speaking with you, Snax, but we watch every week together, and chat and snark, the three of us. And it's been a way we've stayed in touch during quarantine.
I mean, it really just felt like the best time to really hunker down into a season of The Bachelor, because every day feels the same and I'm losing my mind. So I'm glad you can
just
join
like
me.
every episode of the season feels the same, and I'm losing my mind. So it's perfect.
And my interest was piqued by, I thought, wow, 32 seasons. They've never had a Black Bachelor. I'm curious what this is going to be like. I really didn't know I would be in for so much racial strife.
Yeah, I mean, in the news, it hasn't quite hit the show yet, but oh my God, after the final Rose special, it's like the tension is mounting so much for what that's going to be, and I'm so enticed.
Have you talked about yet? What is like the favorite? Can I bet on who's the replacement host for after the final Rose? Or has that been spoiled by Reality Steve as well?
Well, if it has been, I have not been reading the spoilers, so I don't know. My initial feeling is that they'll go with JoJo, because they did bring her back as a step-in host earlier in the season, or last season. I don't know if it was Tayshia's season, or I think, yeah, Tayshia's season. They had JoJo step in, which was an odd choice.
What about Rachel?
It should be Rachel. It should be Rachel.
Yeah, Rachel Lindsay.
It should be Snax.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I would love to. I would happily quarantine. I would happily get to Nemicolon. I've been to Semicolon, and I'll never look back. If I do that, that means that I'll be set for life. I'm working on my erotica novel first, and then I'll get the Bachelor hosting job. Let's get into this episode. I mean, first and foremost, usually what I like to do is get everyone's kind of overall thoughts about the episode before we go into everything. But since it's just the hometowns and we're kind of just taking them one date at a time, I figure we can just dive in and get to these dates. I mean, of course, we start with this. I don't know. Did anyone count how many times we saw Rachel's body flop to the ground from that like skydive? Like, I think they showed it like 6 times. It was just a lot of times. So that was the cold open. And then we get into our first hometown date, which is with Michelle. And I really like Michelle. I was excited to see this one-on-one, this hometown date. And of course, we're saying hometowns, but they're not really going home because they can't go anywhere. So they're just trying to like shoot around Nemicolon and try to make it look slightly different. And not that they're at the chateau or anything like that. So I'm
giggling because I watched your last episode and one of your guests kept saying like, who had never watched, like, why are they referencing hometown 19 times? Like the way they make it sound, it's like it's a restaurant at Epcot or something, like downtown Disney, which like is incredible.
It is funny. Chris Harrison's always like, and then you know what happens after that? Hometowns. Like he's always just like, and then what happens?
The whole show is about 17 words just recycled.
It's true. There's a Bachelor word cloud, and they just pull from the word cloud.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this is the one, you know, ever since he quoted Maya Angelou at her, you know, I felt like everyone else was out. So I really have only been invested in her. But This hometown date, I really have been just delighted by the fact that she's a teacher. So they had like Zoom class with her children, and I can't stop thinking about the experience of the parents who received a release form for their child. And like, I just really think I was actually like, after the episode was over, I was trying to figure out if I saw my elementary school child's teacher like at a bar, you know, getting hammered, like, would I find that more or less troubling than if I got an inquiry for my child to appear on The Bachelor?
I was like, really how did that happen? What was that conversation?
I'd be like, yes, please. And like, you know, don't worry. Like, they're not SAG. Use them for multiple episodes. If I had a child that could be on The Bachelor, I'd be riding that Dina Lohan train all the way home.
But when I was little, if I saw one of my teachers at the supermarket, I was like, what reality am I in? So to see them on TV would have really blown my brain right off.
Yeah.
Apparently, not only could we have children on The Bachelor this way, we could have children on The Bachelor as contestants, according to the young mom that shows up later.
No.
Like, I think I am the same age as that woman.
I feel
probably.
so. I miss like the backstory. So when I was like, which one's the sister in our personal chat, I then felt awkward when I rewatched Snax last episode, and they were like, yeah, her mom had her when she was 13. I was like, ooh, maybe I mean, like, not time for the jokes.
To jump ahead, but the first woman, I mean, it was a lovely experience.
Yeah, I mean, I loved they were wearing matching outfits. They just seem like they have a good vibe with each other. And, you know, I didn't really have that much, you know, negative to say about the date. I felt like her parents they seemed like engaged, but not overly skeptical, but still like curious about the process. And who wouldn't be? Like, I try to imagine being a parent or a family member in this scenario and having my family member come home with someone they met on a show that they barely spent 3 hours with on their own and talking about marriage in a serious way. And I don't know how I'd feel.
I mentioned. Well, go ahead, Santina.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of matching outfits, Snax, I was wondering if you noticed anything about us tonight.
Oh, turtlenecks. Oh my God. You know, I have my mask kind of down here, and that could be a sort of turtleneck, but I should have worn a turtleneck too. I did not get the memo.
Well,
Matt just has a really cold neck.
I mean, have you noticed that he's wearing a turtleneck more than anyone I've ever seen?
His love language.
Yeah, his head would fall off without it. I'm pretty convinced, you know?
Yeah, he's the one. He's the
with the green
with the ribbon.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, I said to the ladies when we were watching it last night, like, I get that whatever, like, the producers tell them what they can and cannot say in terms of who they're in love with, but like, I honestly think that the parents should be spared that bullshit. You know, like when he said to Michelle's dad, like, he was like, "Are you in love with my dad?" He was like, "Let's just say I'm falling." I was like, that, you know what I mean? That just seems rude.
I know, and you know what's interesting to me that really stood out this episode is I kind of felt like the families knew what that Bachelor language was somehow. Like, they knew what, like, the difference was between falling in love, like, and that there's like this like step-by-step process that the Bachelor weirdly uses. But I felt like the family was really like keyed into that, like as if they had received like a glossary of terms or something.
Well, I wonder, you know, when like a jury is sequestered and they can't like watch TV or have the newspaper, I like to imagine that when the families were quarantined, all they had was like a DVR full of all the other seasons of The Bachelor and nothing else.
I'm always shocked when people are on this show, or like when people make appearances on this show and they have never seen an episode. I'm like, okay, well, not even like leading up to it, you wanted to watch an episode. Like, I always think it's so weird when people say they haven't seen any of it, because it's like
they think it's the dating game.
Alternative theory, they're keyed into the language because they're in that same Reddit thread that we all wonder about Santina and Kat and are not a part of, where they talk about people's reputations before the show, like whoever's an escort or that Matt's a good guy. Like there's some dark web forum. Like I'm still waiting for my invite. Like I'm in Clubhouse, but I can't make it into the Bachelor Nation subreddit. Evidently, we're all like, where is all this talk happening? Where?
Oh yeah, find me at Clubhouse too. I'm on there. Snax the Bunny. Check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I am really confused about how anyone knows about Matt or Snax, as you've mentioned, about Matt's heart. Because he was like, I have enough of an understanding of the Bachelor universe that if he'd been a previous Bachelorette contestant, that these girls could go in and be like, I really thought he was so charming and I wanted to get to know him. But they seem to have a real concept of him as a celebrity. Now, I did accidentally 2 weeks before what came to pass, I did remark that I think Matt looks strikingly like Dustin Diamond.
Wow.
I was like, is he Instagram famous? Like, is he some sort of known face or name? But I don't think he was. I think he was
just Tyler's best friend, and Tyler was just, everyone loved Tyler and they went crazy for him, and Tyler just had this really hot best friend, and everyone's just imagination went wild from there. And then ABC was like, hey, we want to have a Black Bachelor, and they just like put him in, and they announced it in the middle of June when Black Lives Matter protests were heating up all over the country, and it was so weird for them to announce it right before the Bachelorette season was about to start. Like they didn't, like it just didn't make any sense for the ABC timing, and it just felt really opportunistic. And now we're seeing how the cards are falling, because it just seems like this is ABC just trying to cover their bases, but not really being thorough or thoughtful or, intentional about any of it.
Wasn't there rumors? Oh, go ahead.
There have been plenty of Black Bachelorette contestants that could have been the next Bachelor.
Mike.
Yeah, we loved Mike. Oh, yeah.
Everyone loves Mike.
Yeah. What about Mike? Or even Will, who I mentioned earlier. He's a really good guy. I love that guy. So,
Were there rumors? I was going to ask him, does anyone know that wasn't like they thought at first Matt was going to be on Claire's season, and then they pivoted and they're like, JK, you get your own?
That's what I heard.
That is what happened, because she found out that he was doing something that she saw as being very fame thirsty, and so she didn't want him on her season.
Wait, I'm sorry. The same woman who's back with Dale?
Yes.
Was concerned about Matt's thirst?
I mean, I can't defend Claire's decisions or her actions.
I never say this, but that's rich.
Well, I think this is just what happens when whoever is making decisions at the show, I'm guessing they maybe don't have a Black person in those rooms.
Exactly, and that's what Rachel Lindsay has been talking about a lot, is that behind the camera, they do need more diversity. Doesn't matter if you have them in front of the camera. If you have all the diversity in the world in front of the camera, if the people making the decisions don't know what they're doing, they're just going to keep making the same show over and over again, which is what we have right now.
And just for my newbie clarification, Tyler, the best friend, is the one we saw getting a non-consensual erotic massage.
Yes, that's
Tyler. We said,
speaking
of now 2-0, in his season, he had a little bit of Dylan vibes. At least Santina and I felt, Yeah,
and I was definitely feeling that on Hannah's season. I was like, have you lost your mind, lady?
I know.
I want to get back to Michelle's date. I want to get back to actually the part where she's talking to the kids, because I thought that was really, really cute. And I got a little emotional watching it. I have to admit, it was just so sweet. I know. I mean, I'm just a softie, really. The kids were just adorable, and but it was just really funny because I thought they were asking some pretty softball questions, and Matt just didn't seem to have an answer to any one of them, and he seemed really like he felt like he was in like an interrogation seat, and it's just a girl going, "Did you kiss her yet?" And it's like,
I mean, the question of like, is Miss Young your girlfriend? And he's like, we'll have to see. And I was like, well, I mean,
No, I was
You're
going to say,
talking marriage.
I literally don't know the name of any of the 4 final contestants, but I do remember my boy Evan on the Zoom who was like, yo, you get it in yet, bro? My man, Evan. Evan, the student.
Oh, the student. Yeah.
He's my fave.
No, yeah, I don't remember any students' names either, but I thought that was so cute. And, you just got to see that Michelle is such a good teacher and she seemed like a sweet person. I just thought that was a really cute date because you really actually got to learn something about her,
Yeah.
Did she have to take the year off from teaching, do we think?
I mean, at least a few months because I don't know, they filmed for like 3
Maybe
months.
she was still Zoom teaching from the mansion.
I mean, honestly, maybe.
Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they let them do anything. They don't let them even read a book unless it's the Bible. So,
Oof.
okay.
For real?
Yeah, I've read that, or I heard that they're not allowed to bring any like literature or anything with them to pass the time because they're supposed to be talking to the other women in the house about what's happening. But they make an exception if you want to bring like a Bible.
Or Chris Hansen's erotica.
Chris Harrison. Or Chris Hansen.
Crossover.
Yeah,
the
like
crossover we knew we needed.
that's who should be the new host, Styles.
Oh my God, yeah. Did anyone have any other thoughts about Michelle's date? I mean, I thought that my one thing was, she really enjoyed having Matt with her family, and she confessed her feelings at the end, and he was just like, very cool that you say that to me. Like, I don't know, like his response to her was just like, ooh, I was really bummed because he has said the word love to Rachel multiple times and would not even go close to that word with Michelle. So it just kind of shows you where he stands.
I mean, Matt has to try to find a way to not say I love you, like 3 different ways, 3 or 4 different ways.
Yeah.
He's definitely taken some lip acting lessons from LL Cool J. I feel like he did like a sort of like, I'm really pensively, to buy some time, but then nothing.
Yeah, it's kind of not like a throwback to because in the old days they were not allowed to say it, and then I remember when they started saying it, it was like, oh my God, they're not allowed to say it. And now we're kind of used to them saying it, but Matt has taken it back to the old school because he's an old fool that's so cool apparently, and he's keeping it zipped.
Wait, can somebody update me then? Because who is he said? So he said he's falling for Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Snax, you're saying he has said he loves Rachel?
He says he's in love with her, I think is what he said.
Okay, well, so that's like the highest, on the food pyramid. And then what about the other, like, I don't remember. What
he just said falling, I think, to everyone else. It's just been falling.
That's like too soon from the skydiving lesson, if you ask me.
Exactly. I mean, you were literally falling, so
Rude.
It's almost like having your fingers crossed behind your back. You're like, I'm falling from the sky, So yeah, let's move on to Rachel's date was next, right? Am I getting that right?
Mm-hmm.
Just going off my memory here. I think it is. So yeah, we get Rachel's date, and what was curious about this date was okay, so we get we get a little taste of Michelle with her family and her kids with the student with the classroom. With Rachel, it was kind of interesting that it was just like skydiving.
Like, yeah, her home is the sky.
Because I'm like, what does that have to do with getting to know you? And I think she just said something like, trust is a big deal with me. And it's like, what is that, just like a trust fall from the sky? Where she's strapped to an 8-year-old dude?
This like sort of, I don't know, it feels really manufactured. What an odd thing to say about this show. But where he was just like, I really, when I like someone, I give them a hard time. We're always giving each other a hard time. I was like, is that supposed to be some sort of real chemistry? Like, it just felt like there's nothing there. You could say that about Aloe Black or someone.
I feel like they have some sort of
My second favorite musician, Aloe Black.
I feel like they have like a budget for skydiving, and if they don't use it, then they lose it next season. And so they were like, we got to get some skydiving in this season, or else we're not going to get it.
They have a punch
or
card
something, because it really did come out of the clear blue sky.
This is Snax. This is one of the scenes that we thought was reminiscent of 90210. Very Kelly and Brenda win a skydiving opportunity from a radio call-in. Right?
That is true. There is that skydiving episode. Yeah. And, the guy, I just, the guy that they strapped Rachel to, I mean, he really looked like he was like 12. And he was wearing like multiple pairs of glasses. And I feel bad for this kid because she has this rough landing.
Yeah.
And that kid's never going to live that down. Like, it's like, great, we can't put we can't put Acme skydiving brand name on this because everyone's going to think that we're not careful. Thanks, Jason.
I mean, questions abound about the COVID compliance of being within 6 feet of your skydiving buddy.
We had all different opinions. One of you asked, right? Like, do you think he got in trouble for the rough landing on camera?
I was wondering that. I was wondering because how's he going to deny it? We saw it 14 times yesterday alone.
Me, the skeptic, evidently, I was like, yeah, or / ABC, like under the table, gave him way more money for a rough landing so that it makes for a good draw, a clip they can show over and over again.
Rachel, I'd be pretty pissed if that's what happened.
Well, she's got room to talk.
I don't think they'd get very far in a cold open of them eating fake poutine. So they had to have something exciting.
They need the cold open moment. You know what I mean? They're really shooting for that cold open moment. Yeah, it's unclear to me. I was told that, when you're supposed to land from one of those, like you have to put your legs in like an L shape or like you're sitting in a chair so that your butt is the thing that hits the ground. And definitely when Rachel was coming down, they were not in that formation. And I think it just, got away from them.
Paid for it.
Yeah.
Paid for it.
I mean,
did you ever skydive?
No.
Oh.
No, never will I ever.
Same.
No, thank you. I mean, it looked pretty bad. And then moments later, she gets up and she's got a little bit of grass in her hair and she looks kind of disheveled, but like in a sexy way. And then it cuts to Matt. And then when it cuts back to her, her hair and makeup is perfectly done. And it's so funny. I thought that was hilarious.
Matt says you don't know what you got till it's almost gone.
Yes, that's right.
Wow. She got the Joni Mitchell.
Yeah, he really saw the light in that moment. I definitely was looking at this date with Rachel. I was definitely watching it with a lot of interest based on what's been happening in the news. I really was curious to meet her family. And I don't know, like, I noticed a few things about her family that were kind of funny or interesting, like her dad, his various beverages he was drinking the whole time. He was just, he was having a one-man party, that man. And that was pretty entertaining. But what were your thoughts about Rachel's family time of her hometown date?
Well, Santina asked, pointed out that if you said you were like, I should have signed up for The Bachelor because I would have been able to see my family during this pandemic.
Oh, I know. And, I was laughing and crying when you said that.
Yeah, like really a bummer when you think that like this girl gets to see her family during all of this. I liked that her dad was feisty, but maybe it points to something more.
Yeah.
So since none of us remember anybody's names on this season, but what we do is like create a celebrity analogy or mashup. We've done that for Rachel herself, which we think is the girl that plays that one person on Riverdale meets a little bit of Selena Gomez. Is that what we thought?
Like, I've seen Rebecca Black. I've seen her compared to Rebecca Black, and I see that a lot.
Yeah.
But who did you guys, which one of you said the dad looks like someone?
Is it her dad?
Her dad.
Yeah,
Her
he
dad.
looks like Eric Estrada.
Eric Estrada, yeah.
Right?
Totally.
Chips.
Yep. It was interesting to me that she was so upset that Matt didn't ask for permission to marry, like for a blessing. And that's so old school to me and so weird. And I think it just was for her, maybe just an indicator that she's the front runner. I think she just wanted like assurance, but I don't know. What did you guys think about that?
Isn't she also the one who was like, by the way, I won't be able to give you children for like 5 to 10 more years
That was
until
the design. That was Gossip Taylor Momsen. The
Oh,
designer.
Taylor Momsen.
That was
Okay.
Kit. That was Kit. Yeah.
That was Kit. Well, I was just gonna say that threw me for a loop because he was like, out of respect, I'm not asking for anyone's permission. But I had thought that he got permission from Michelle's dad, but did Michelle's dad just implicitly give it without being asked? Because I feel
I
like
think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He was just like, I trust my daughters. Yeah, but I don't know. That's a very Drag Race moment. Also, when Bibi Zahara Benet said she would not list who she wrote on the lipstick out of respect. Again, it's like, it's not out of respect to anything. You just don't want to say it.
Right.
But it's a great excuse. Out of respect, I can't come into work today.
Out of respect, I'm just going to make it a phone call. Is that what he said? I'm just going to call him later.
Respect, I'm not getting out of bed today, actually.
Yeah, just out of respect.
But I feel like, Santina, I don't know whose parents they were, but I feel like you and I, speaking of respect, always respected when there were dads that are like, look, kind of you like have my approval, but like I can't give this to you. Like my daughter should be any man's one and only. Like I can't give this to you when you have three others. And we've always been like, yeah, Dad.
You know what happens when the dads say no? The girls become Veruca Salt, all of that. And they're like, Daddy, I want an engagement ring now. They all do. So they're looking.
It's true. That's the best analogy. It's true.
So then we go to Bree's date, and
Is she the Canadian?
no,
she's the
No.
stop. You
Sorry,
never remember Bree. You never remember. I never remember her name. I remember what she looks like. But yeah, Bree's the one that you've
I
never
do not
seen.
remember a thing about the
Never.
at all. The
Like,
whole thing.
literally, I can vouch. We've watched the entire season together.
Yeah.
She's the one who had the little brother.
yeah,
Infant
little baby. I thought it was it his brother or sister?
sister.
I cannot remember what date they went on before the baby showed up.
Oh, she took him in like an off-roading, like she off-roaded with him because they did that ATV date. It was
Which is
kind of-
like very
Right.
reminiscent of San Francisco, where she's allegedly from.
yeah, it was a little weak. It was like, hey, remember our first date? Now it's time for payback. It's like, okay, I don't know how much I'm learning about her in this process, but definitely it's an interesting thing to learn. Okay, we're going into a place where we're meeting her mom, her sister, and her best friend, and it was hard to tell who was who because her best friend looks a lot like her, and her name is Bree.
I thought they were
That was
sisters.
your sister.
No, that was her
the
friend.
sister was
the sister was the
newborn.
baby. Because the only other explanation for that is that the baby's the best friend, and who has a baby for a best friend? I mean,
I would if I could. I would if I could.
Loved it. It was way more like interesting, right? Like in texture than the average family. And it broke my heart a little bit. Like broke my heart to the point but I was confused when she said before meeting them, like she started crying and saying like, I can't give you a traditional family. And I was like, oh, she's like infertile. Like
That's what I thought too.
no, I was like, right. And then I was like, oh, wait, she's talking about like this hometown date. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
She's
Her
talking
friend
about
and
the
mom
fact that-
her mom and friends seem chill. Who cares?
I
Like,
know.
right?
And then he's like, wow, to see her holding a baby like really gave me feelings. And I was like, wait, is it because she's infertile? Like I still was having this narrative where she was like, I can't give you a family. And I was like, that's rude to families. Like
I think I sort of feel like Matt has watched maybe a lot of like rom-coms or something, because I feel like that moment in movies always happens where the man sees the woman he's kind of interested in holding a baby and he's like, wow. And I sort of feel like he just decided that was the first time he could ever imagine her being a mother, is that she's actually physically holding a baby. But yeah, I just thought it was so crazy that her best friend's name was Bree and that they looked as much alike as they did. I mean, I thought they looked like sisters for sure.
And this is the date he brought a large stuffed animal to.
A large bunny. Let's talk about it. It's the best thing in the episode. A very oversized stuffed bunny, and no one ever talked about it or explained it. And
That could have been the cold
we
open.
talked about it in our chat. What Santina, what did you say about Rose, your mother?
Oh, I said if my date ever brought my mother a stuffed animal like that, she would hate it so much. She used to call stuffed animals dust collectors growing up. I wasn't allowed to have them. She would shake them in front of me in the sunlight and go, look at all that dust. If I had somebody bring her a giant bunny like that, Now, Snax, how did you feel? Were you attracted to the bunny at all, or what's your story there?
I think I just felt, happy
Appropriated.
that there was representation, obviously.
Right.
But I mean,
Well,
yes.
yeah.
I really
So-
wish that they had let the bunny speak and given the bunny a little bit more to do, other than just being arm candy,
Token.
frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. Virtue signaling all the way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I get
exactly.
that. I'm so sorry.
it's okay. I mean, baby steps, baby steps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe the bunny will be on Girls Reunion or whatever it's called.
Oh, after the final rose. Women tell all.
Women tell all.
Women and bunny tell
Just make
all.
it all up. It doesn't matter. Just make up your
Just a
own.
lot of like
terminology.
reaction shots of the bunny's face. I would be happy with.
Maybe the bunny will replace Chris Harrison, and then I'll be really jealous.
Oh yeah, let's start a petition.
If another bunny, that would be. That would
MoveOn.org.
1,000. Wait,
Um,
Snax, can I just ask you though? Have you thought about quarantine for these families? Because
Yeah.
I know that the CDC changes it all the time. Let's assume 10 to 14 days. We feel like 10 to 14 days ago, there were still 32 contestants, and I can't imagine all 32 families
Right.
came to this Foxwood Resort, wherever they are.
Right. I am so
Hunker
confused
down.
as to how they do this. I would love to know how they do this, but I get the sense that they have an idea from Matt who his final 4 or final 6 might be, and they just fly those families out and start quarantining them early. And that maybe the producers just know weeks ahead of time, which I think is kind of crummy, because what if one of those ladies does something insane and like in her
As
family
racist pics emerge, you know?
yeah.
It is almost impossible to imagine that the scale, like that all these like parents can get away from their jobs or whatever it is for this length of time. Like I have to think that they're doing some rapid testing and not maybe
so
being
too.
as safe as they should be.
I agree with that. I think they probably be like, oh, take the temperature. It's fine. It's like, okay.
Yeah, like try to cover your cough.
Yeah, and I just wonder.
But there's a baby.
There's a baby. Yeah, and was it last season? There was like, someone's parent was like sick. Or like really like in the last season, and they were like they came to the hometown part, and I was like, no, very immunocompromised, I think, and came to the hometown, and I was so terrified at that.
Maybe that's why that girl had to leave to quote unquote look after her father who had ALS, because they were like, maybe he was like, oh, she's one of my top faves, and they were like, we can't get this family here for hometown, so she had to
leave to look after G-Eazy's dick.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that, goss.
I have to say though, I was so excited to meet Bree's mom. Even though her name is not Bree, I kind of just wanted everyone's name to be Bree at some point, and for her to open a closet door and like a bunch of Brees fall out and they're eating Bree. I just wanted to go all the way with it if you're gonna do it. But I was excited to meet Bree's mom. I thought she was a pretty cool lady, and I thought it was so interesting when she was talking to Matt. They just seemed like peers. I mean, they're almost the same age. There's not a huge age difference between Matt and Bree's mom. What did you guys think of the conversation between Bree's mom and Matt?
We'll talk about knowing the lingo. She's like, hey, Matt, can I steal you for a second?
Oh, yeah, she did say that.
Oh, yeah, can I tell them what you said? Oh, yeah.
Well, I thought it was going to be like a honey trap situation that she was going to like, you say, try to put the moves on him and really test his mettle. But I mean, maybe she did and they cut it out.
No, I wish.
So all the moms were, as moms are, like particularly insightful, knowing their daughters, and also really like calm, lacked the hysterics. I do remember, I feel like Bree's mom was like, she's a pragmatist and like, has had to be as an extension of her upbringing and some of like the challenging circumstances early on. I just like the way they described their daughters. It was both like clearly they knew their daughters so well, but I also felt all of the mothers implicitly trusted their daughters to make the right decision.
I really particularly liked that. I thought that Bree's mom was kind of calling Matt out on that lingo that you mentioned, because when she was like, "All right, so are you in love with my daughter?" And he's like, "I'm falling," and she looked at him like, I know what that means, and you could tell right away, because she's watched this show. Where he's at and why he's keeping his feelings so close to the vest is that there's probably somebody else ahead of her, and she felt that, I think. She walks him out, and she tells him that she's, falling in love with him, and he's like, "Thank you for sharing that with me." And it's like, oh.
That hurt me, and I didn't even know who this girl was before last night.
I think she deserved more. I like Bree. I like all the Brees.
Sharing that with me is something you say when someone discloses an illness. That is not. I was I think I would bounce. I think I would have to be like, you know what? This is
I'm good.
painful.
Well, yeah. For sharing that with me is one of the 17 sentences that they're allowed to pick out of a hat.
Yeah. Totally.
That's like when someone says, "And I've brought you to meet my good friends Temecula Road," and then you're like, "Thank you for sharing that with me." There's no place to go from there.
No, I think Bree's beautiful. They actually are all very attractive, but I think she's really stunning, and I think, Kat, you complimented her brows. Great brows.
Great brows.
I mean, flawless.
And then she showed up wearing the love language. She had a turtleneck dress on. Spoiler alert for the rose ceremony.
That's true. She has great dresses. I really liked Bree's style. There were so many times when she was wearing a dress that I was like, took my breath away. So then finally we have Serena's date, and I really enjoyed the daytime portion of this date. I loved the Canadian quiz. I loved all of that. I thought that was cute. I thought we learned something about her. I mean, when you compare it to the other women's dates, other than Michelle, I just thought that hers had a lot more of her personality injected into it, and it just seemed really fun. They did the quiz, they ate all the Canadian foods, then they played hockey, and I just thought that was so cute. What do you guys think about the daytime portion of
And you're not being sarcastic.
No, I loved it. I thought it was great. I want to go on that date. I want to eat poutine and learn things about Canada.
I think I speak collectively, our chat said those are airport stuffed animals, and this is like a school project, like a diorama.
I feel like the
Canadian culture.
It would have been more on par for the teacher to do that date, because it was like bulletin boards, and it was like, I don't know, it just felt like somebody just stopped by Party City and they were like, "What do you got, Canada?" And then they set up a room. I think she's cute, but even he was like, "What are we doing here?" The chemistry was weird. He obviously is has zero respect for Canada, which as a Degrassi fan pisses me off. And really, and I don't know, I just thought it was weird, and I was like, she's another thing. She really threw me off by straightening her hair, because for a while I was like, wait, who the hell is this now? And she was giving me really Melissa Gorga vibes last night. It wasn't until she came through the next day with the curly hair that I'm like, oh, that girl, who I like, by the way.
I like the date. We've already known that they don't have any chemistry because she's not really that into him. But I kind of love. I think that's why I liked this, is because it's her being like, "All right, dude, here's the most cold shower of a date that you're ever gonna get, and we are bros, and we are gonna be Canadian bros. Deal with it."
I liked that. Any date where it seems like they might actually get to chuckle a little bit, instead of just wow, I really did drive that go-kart or whatever. Something where they can talk about anything. But yeah, I'm sorry to this man with the production design. It was too I know that they are in a pandemic and there are constraints, but I was expecting a little bit of a Bigfoot Lodge look. The strand of Canadian flags was such a bummer. I just really was like, this is sad to me that this
I don't know what's wrong with me that I liked it so much.
Well, by the way, did you just see Biden just did a side-by-side, a virtual conference with Trudeau? But I'm like, no, can't we get at least a screen with Trudeau? Tupac hologram style. I mean, I just felt like there was at one point where she was like, and I know Bachelor is all hyperbole, but she was just like, given like what we just went through and like, how she's connecting with my culture, I really feel like we've grown closer this afternoon. Like, I can't. Like, I really can't. And I can't with a lot of stuff on The Bachelor, but that was like up there for me. Come on.
I mean,
the ice skating, it just reminded me of like on a cruise ship when it's like not real ice. Like it's like it's like laminate that they put down in tiles, but you can kind of skate on it. And it was real ice, but it just had that feeling.
It reminded me of this time in school when we had it was Columbus Day, which I know, controversial, but back in the day. And I remember my teacher putting tape on the floor of the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria, and we were all assigned a ship, and we all had to sit in our ship for the day and learn about that ship and what goods were brought in. And that to me, I was flash memoried into that day of school. That's why for me, I was like, this is, could you imagine going on a date with a guy and you show up and he's like, I want to introduce you to my culture. By the way, my culture is Canada. It's not even, it's not even like we went around the world here. And then he just like put streamers. I feel like I'd be like, what? And then he was quizzing me. I'd be like, what is this?
Santina, that is almost every date I've ever been on with a man. You show up to their one bedroom and they're like, oh, this is my culture. And it's a Boondock Saints poster. And then they quiz you about it. Like very
honestly,
relatable.
I would have like showed him a YouTube video by Luca Magnotta and I'd be like, this is Canada, bitch. Like that's culture to me. I hope for those that get the reference, it was dark.
I mean, maybe it just says something about me, but I would love it if someone were to plan that like hilariously elaborate but sad date. I would be really into it. I would enjoy it because it's something different. And so I say props to the producers and to the production and the design and to Serena for coming up with it. I loved it. I'm a big fan. We
did like the moose.
Yeah. We then get to meet Serena's family, who I thought were just, I wanted to be in that family. They just seemed super cool. I really liked her family. Her mom, oh my God, she was stunning.
Wise.
And she just seemed so like, just so like down to earth, but, wise and funny. I loved Serena's family. I thought that part was really fun. But I guess, her sister does point out to Serena that, you don't seem smitten. And I think Serena, seeing that somebody from the outside noticed that, kind of threw her off her game and kind of maybe solidified her feelings that she's been grappling with for a while now. It's like, do I even like this guy enough? What did you guys think?
I felt bad for her in that moment because she wore her best pleather pants to see her family for the first time after who knows how long.
Saved them this long, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I thought this was like kind of the first time where I felt like, oh, this is like a real human moment. Like, I think that's the first time I felt this way, probably all season, was someone expressing doubt about the whole about Matt, because this is the thing that I think, having this being the first time I've watched a whole season, every single conversation he has with a woman is about how great he is. And there's just nothing to differentiate it. Like, are they ever talking about like culture or sports or anything that they like?
We don't see any of it.
Michelle said it was his hydrocortisone community gardens or whatever.
Hydroponic.
That was very specific reason she loves him. So just
I love that she called that out, because that is an admirable thing that he does. I think that's pretty. It's true. I'm with you, Kat. I kind of feel like the whole season we haven't really seen much substance at all from these conversations. All they ever talk about is each other. Like, they don't talk about anything else. And I mean, on this show, you don't get that a lot. Like, you just get people talking about their backgrounds, their families. But I would love to see more people talk. Like, I want this to pass the Bachelor test a little bit more. I want them to talk about something else. Talk about some other topic for 5 minutes. Jeez.
If we're going to happen to you, you think it'd be this season, honestly, because a lot of times it's like they're in a helicopter, like squeezing onto each other in their headphones. And that's why there's not substantive conversation. Like if you only have a moose stuffed animal, this should be the time where you get down to business, right?
That's what you're reminding me of right now, Lizzie.
Oh. Like I'm combining dates. I'm both crying having been dismissed, but also ready to take flight with my love.
That's true. Yeah. Lizzie's background is the SUV that they drive away. Oh, she's sitting in the back of an SUV. She's just been let go.
I thought she was in her rented minivan to show up and wreck everyone's day.
Yeah, that's some Heather cosplay right there. But maybe that's why though. Like honestly, maybe that's why I like the Canada date so much. It's because it's the longest time on this show that we've seen them talk about something else. Like they never talk about any other subject other than Matt.
Yeah.
Can I back up and ask, do you guys think so? If we last date with Tantra Gate or whatever, or Karma Sutra, what was it that some
tantric yoga? Yeah.
I didn't necessarily interpret that, but I was paying attention. But I didn't necessarily interpret that as her saying no to him. I just thought that she was not comfortable with that activity, or that wasn't for her. It wasn't necessarily her rendering a verdict on him, but have I been viewing that wrong? Was it if she were really into him, would she been?
I mean, I think that's hard to say without knowing her. I'll bet her family and friends could tell if they watched it, oh, she really likes him or she doesn't really like him. I think that common interpretation is if a woman kind of flinches when you touch her, that's generally not a good sign. And I really felt like she was just really put off by that. And that's a pretty basic, he is pretty affectionate. He always has his hands on these women. He always has his hands on their legs. He's always touching them, and I think that
lots of open mouth.
Yeah, and very open mouth, swallowing their jaw, kissing, and she's not into that. But I wonder if there's a slight maybe if she was more into him, she'd be okay with it. I don't know.
Although there was a weird moment where she was saying, was it to her mom, where she was like, I don't know, there's something missing, and she was like, wow, your last relationship really messed you up.
Oh right, yeah.
It's kind of oh, okay. And again, the question of how old are these people? Is she talking about a high school boyfriend at this point? But I thought it was weird to say oh, it's because you're frigid and not open to love, and not oh, you've spent a couple hours with this guy and his other girlfriends.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably just the editing. It just seemed like her sister planted an idea, which may have been valid, and then it was just oh my God, what was I thinking? I can't stand him. I don't, is this going to be a thing? Is she come back knocking on his door next week? I've made a mistake, or we think.
I mean, they show her on the Women Tell All couch looking sad, and they do ask her if she has regrets. So I'm sure we'll get the answer to that question next week. But yeah,
Canadian is trying to marry an American right now.
Well, I know, and if I were him, I'd be like, hell yeah, get me out of here. Let's go to Canada. I'm going to have some poutine and we're going to have the best life. I mean, that's a no-brainer for me.
That's right. The streamer.
Hydrocortisone. Snax, I have a question for you. We talked about this early. In one of the first episodes, he revealed he's never been in love before. He doesn't think so. We discussed in our watch chat whether that would be a deal breaker at this. Well, how old is he at his age?
He's 29.
Okay.
29.
Okay. So Snax, is that a deal breaker if you're to would you discount a 29-year-old who's never been in love?
For me, if the discussion was about marriage specifically, then yes, that would be a deal breaker for me, because I'd want somebody who, before I married them, to have had a more intense relationship, or it would be a very long engagement. But it wouldn't be a deal breaker per se. It would just be kind of a pump the brakes moment, I think. Mm-hmm. What about you guys?
Probably not. I don't know. I think everybody's on their own journey. Hold on, let me pull a neat word out of the hat. Journey.
I think I thought red flag, but not deal breaker, a pump the brakes, not red flag, because I think red flag means trouble. But it would give me pause. Although now that I realize he's 29, I guess I'm less concerned about that. I think I'm just not trying to marry a 29-year-old man, period. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't think of it as much of a red flag. Part of me was like, great, there's no one, I can be the best he's ever had. Like there's no one, you know what I mean? But that's probably not a realistic perspective.
I mean, there's something to be said about that too, but I think also it's the fact that he hasn't had a relationship longer than 4 months. And when you're talking about marriage, that's a big thing to get over, I would think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a problem. And that's, again, an odd choice for The Bachelor, someone who's never had a long relationship.
Yeah.
The show itself is less than 4 months. I mean, right?
yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I would love a Bachelor or season where, or I guess maybe a Bachelorette season where they're all 50 plus.
That's been rumored for a while. Are they really, Snax?
Yeah, well, so I am watching
Our
this
time now.
on TV, so I'm watching it with commercials and everything. And before they come back from all the breaks, they have promos for future Bachelor casting, and then one of them is, "Are you a senior citizen looking for love?" And they've been casting for that for a while now, so I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that.
What's the age?
Interesting.
What's the cutoff there? Because can I apply for that one? Because now
No, honestly.
I don't think you're a senior citizen yet, Santina.
Well, in the Bachelor
am I
universe,
ever going to see my family again if I don't get on The Bachelor?
I know, it's true. It's like, do we need to all apply to reality shows to go anywhere this year?
Yeah, I think so.
So Serena, I thought that her date was fine, and I thought that we've seen the doubt creeping in on Serena for a while now. It didn't surprise me, but Matt just sort of started noticing that she's not as sold on the idea as the other ladies, and he decides that before the rose ceremony, he's going to pay her a visit. And we get this conversation between Matt and Serena. When he walks in,
correction, Chris tells him to, because they still had like 20 minutes to fill of programming.
Right. Sorry, I skipped over the Chris Harrison of it all. How could I? His value to the show is just immeasurable. However, would we know when the last rose is going to happen?
That is my favorite part of every episode, honestly.
It's ridiculous, really, but it's wonderful. I love it. So yeah, Chris Harrison, you're right. Talks to Matt, and they decide he needs to have a conversation with Serena, and he goes to see her. And when he first walks into the room where Serena is, she looks unpleasantly surprised to see him. She just seemed really not excited, and
she didn't run and jump fully around his waist like everyone else did.
There was no toddler jump, and that's when you know a relationship is ending. She says to him, "You're not my person," and self-eliminates. What did you guys think about this moment with Serena?
I always respect a "you're not my person" from one of the Bachelor or Bachelorette contestants. I think that it's a good move.
Yeah.
Why not? Iconic. My top two are when Andy did it to Juan Pablo. That was my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one where Brooks left Deanna because she was going to pick him. You could just tell she was going to pick him.
Oh, right.
And that was kind of before they were allowed to say anything. So she was all like, no. I can't tell you why, but please don't do this. And that one was like hard to watch. Also, I loved him. But I always respect a goodbye, because I don't buy it that they're just all like, whoa, good thing I actually fell in love with this guy. Everyone, really?
Yeah.
Also, you can hedge your bets if you're like, yeah, I could go either way. But if I like self-eliminate, in the final 4-3, good chance I'm in the Bachelorette. Like, that is an investment.
Especially if you leave with integrity and you're like, I just, and it's like a struggle and it looks hard for you. Then you have favorability points with Bachelor Nation.
Could be that, like Brooklyn Heights didn't win her season of RuPaul's Drag Race. Then she got to host Drag Race Canada. So this could be a very similar situation.
Yes.
But also there was a moment that I thought was really relatable where she's like, God, just like so quickly, it's over.
Mhm.
And you can like that again. First time I felt like real human emotion where she was like, yeah, I have invested in this and here it is. Like I'm going home and
Yeah.
I can't believe we just had that conversation. Now it's over.
And truly, I think that's what Matt saw in her, is that I thought that Serena was pretty real. Like she wasn't using a lot of Bachelor speak when she was talking. I think that her skepticism about the process and her discomfort with the process really charmed him, because I think he saw that she was taking it seriously enough to have these opinions and to share them with Matt, and to be comfortable enough with Matt to share those opinions. So I think he was really bummed out, because I think he really trusted her, because he felt like she always said everything straight to him.
That's a generous interpretation. I feel like he likes Rachel and then Serena because they're playing like the hardest to get. Like even if they're not trying to, that's like what he's attracted to.
Yeah, I think he's
Ones that are
attracted
less
to it
built.
because he's rightfully suspicious of this process, though. Like you have to know that when you're on this show, there are women or people or that are going to tell you whatever you want to hear just to win and get to the end. And unless someone shows a little bit of like the ability to make their own decision and not just kind of telling you what you want to hear, I think that would put my faith into someone on this type of process as well. Like if I saw someone with any skepticism or holding any sort of opinion, it's too easy to get on this show is a little suspicious, I think.
See, but I think Michelle has been pretty forthcoming, and she seems like the one with the like strongest head on her shoulders, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree that Michelle is fantastic. I want him to pick Michelle. But yeah,
Michelle?
I just think that he
He's a
liked,
teacher. She's a teacher.
Oh yeah.
I think that he just liked Serena for that reason. I thought that's what I thought about Serena. And so that's kind of where the episode ends. All three of the women get a rose. We have a rose ceremony with absolutely no suspense because there's 3 women and 3 roses. Although Brie seems to think that it's a slight against her that she got the last rose, which I don't know if that's a thing, but I don't.
Well,
think
I don't know, because he did come out and say, I'm not gonna lie, I'm very sad that Serena left, which implies that he maybe would have chosen her, because otherwise he would have just said, it was a kind of just not working, it was mutual, whatever. So by saying I'm sad that she left, anyway, here's I guess that I felt for her. I would have felt the same way as she did. Like, well, I'm glad Serena left then, because otherwise I probably wouldn't have gotten this rose. That's how I interpreted it. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. Very good point.
I kind of saw it as him seeing like, oh, wow, somebody this far in could actually pass on me.
Yeah.
He made some comment about like, I almost thought he was saying like, if I'm going to offer you this rose, like, make sure you actually want it, like was kind of what I got from him.
Yeah.
But because then there was just a moment, I guess, when they were going up to take the rose where it was like, oh, well, are you just taking the rose or do you actually want to be here? But I think what's her name's turtleneck dress said she definitely wanted to be there.
No, she's all in. Wait, so what do you think happens, like scenes, this is not a spoiler, Snax, but like in the scenes we all saw him doing the that someone inevitably does every season. What do you think? So do you think he gets dumped again, or is he just crying because he has to make a hard decision, or what does everyone think?
I think at the very least, I don't know if Rachel will leave the show, but I think that there's doubt about her staying on, because it seems like many other people who get to this stage, the minute you get to fantasy suites, there's someone who it really doesn't sit well with them that he's going to be spending the night.
Rachel is not going to sit well? Like I feel a lot of DTF vibes, and I say that respectfully.
About the other women. About the fact that he spends a night with her and then the next night is with another woman. In the previews, there was a moment where she's like, I can't do this. He's with another woman right now. And I wonder if that feeling is intense enough that she either threatens to leave or almost leaves or something. I can't tell if she's going to go all the way with that, but it seems like that is my best guess on what might happen, is that feeling might take over and she might at least try to exit, if not actually exit.
Well, so per Matt's statement that he just released this week, he's learning about this all in real time with the rest of us. This being first there was revelations regarding racist behavior that Rachel had so long ago in 2018. As in
way back when.
This season, Rachel. And then it was continued by Chris defending her unnecessarily. So he said he's just finding out, he's heartbroken and finding out about this in real time. I mean, like, is there a chance, do we think he could choose her and then like is engaged to her and finds out about this? Is that plausible?
It's plausible. I think it's possible, but I mean, yeah, I don't know the timeline of how this all came to be. And when was Matt made aware of these issues, and like at what point in the timeline was he aware? Are we only going to find out in the very, very last episode? I have no idea. So I'm really curious how it's going to roll out.
Do they not have interns or something that can vet these people, deep dive? I mean,
like literally unpaid interns could find that.
Matt or Lizzie, because they can find dirt on anybody on the internet from way back when. Hire them or any of these other TikTok people or any of these other Instagram people. Why do we always find out 6 weeks later into the season that so-and-so said something shady like 3 years ago? Did they not look back?
Yeah.
Because there's nobody working behind the scenes who is like, you know what we should vet for? Like, they're probably vetting for like criminal record and not for like racist nonsense.
Well, I mean, the first time or the second time, fine. But now it's like, come on.
Literally, just an intern just clicks through every single Facebook photo, right?
Just pretend it's your ex. Pretend it's your ex's new girlfriend and just do that for a day. Everyone's done it for someone.
Done it. It's true. There's a lot of information you can find.
Yeah.
If you want to. Yeah.
We literally, to Santina's point, we find stuff about obscure,
Yeah, they do.
day actors that were on a 1991 episode of 90210. Like it's like.
Yeah.
There should be a lot for Rachel.
I agree that there should be people on this business so it's not always this messy. This is pretty darn messy, though. I'm really curious to see how the next couple weeks go. What do you guys think is going to happen? How do you think Matt's journey will end, and how do you want it to end? I wish that he would pick Michelle, but I don't see that in the cards. And I mean, I just don't know if this season is going to end in a positive way at all.
I mean, look,
Lizzie's pointed out that Michelle's too good for him.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of hope for her sake she doesn't get, like, that's who you should pick.
Yeah.
But, like,
Well, I think that Matt's, like, a pretty okay guy in general. I think he's a little boring, but I don't think he's, like Juan Pablo, like, bad guy. Was like, oh, everyone smart, run away,
Yeah,
so I wouldn't mind. I think the angel on my shoulder wants him to end up with the teacher, but the sort of like reality TV little devil on my shoulder is like, but what if he did pick Rachel and then found out, and then that was like the whole twist, because that's just like the better TV of it all.
He finds out after the final rose, which is not hosted by Chris Harrison. Like that's
interesting. Yeah,
it's interesting because Chris is at the center of it all, and it's weird that they're like because they've dealt with, on after the final rose, like the thing with Jed and Hannah when Hannah found out that Jed had a girlfriend, and there was all this messiness after that, and with Peter's season and Hannah Ann, and like how all that got really messy at the very end. But with this, it's interesting because the executive producer of the show is at the center of this controversy. Chris Harrison is the executive producer.
Snax, is he still the EP, just stepped down as host, but he's still okay. That's
so
weird.
How will they deal with it? It's going to be really interesting. I keep saying that.
I could see him like having a heart-to-heart with his bro and other Bachelor friends and his mom, and just being like, I really don't think I'm being called. My heart isn't being called in this time. Like it can't be a first for a Bachelor or Bachelorette to end a season with like
Brad chose no one. Brad chose no one, right? His first season? Brad Womack? Santina?
Oh, is that the one that had 2 seasons?
Yeah, Brad, that guy with the Emily. His first season, he chose no one. Or he kind of pulled a Kelly. He chose himself, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Kelly Taylor. I think that the teacher would make a nice Bachelorette.
Yeah. Or Bree.
Yeah, Bree's great. I think I get it. Like, they're not allowed to be seen, even those that are like consciously coupled. You won't see pictures of them until like afterwards. So the fact, but like he was partying alone with like some sort of pube beard at the Super Bowl and just like at foam parties, just like swapping drool, just like half of Bachelor Nation was there, like in a tank. And I just feel like that gave me really single vibes. Like, I get it, you're not going to be photographed with the winner, but that felt like it was like.
I mean, the beard alone.
Right?
It's a serious beard.
Yeah.
The beard says it all.
Also, not in the pandemic. I like beards, but they hold a lot of germs.
Oh.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm so
the
mad.
CDC put out an
Okay.
infographic about the kind of beards you're allowed to have that fit under a mask.
Yeah.
Oh, really? No, I'm just mad at all of the Batch folks. It like honestly made me want to pull back from the franchise that were just like whooping it up to Amigos concert in Super Bowl. I'm like, why are you there? Like, do you know what I mean? Like this, how is this related to you? Did the Super Bowl air on ABC? Is that even a tangential relation?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like, why are you there?
We have literally no way of finding out that information.
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
Luciano, how are you, my baby? My sweet little doggy.
Oh, yeah, with that bow tie, he's trying to give out a rose tonight.
Yeah. It's always.
What a gentleman. Wow. So that's basically where we're at in this season. I mean, I am, again, just on pins and needles to see how this will end. But that was hometowns, not super eventful, but we're moving towards the finish line regardless.
Lots of body oil to come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fantasy Suites. We've got Women Tell All next week, and then Fantasy Suites the week after, and then we've got the finale and after the final rose after that. So hopefully you stay tuned here to Buns and Roses for all of that conclusion of the season. I'll have some fun new guests and some returning guests, and it's going to be so great. Lizzie, Kat, Santina, thank you, ladies, so much for everything and for coming on the show. Please listen to The Blaze. Check out all of Santina's stuff. Check out Ass Level. Watch One Day at a Time. These women are just incredible creators, and I'm just so honored to have you on the show and to have you spend the time with me tonight. Thank you so much.
We love you, Snax.
Love you.
I'm falling for you, Snax.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm in love with you. And to all you at home, please stay vulnerable, keep your walls down, and enjoy the journey. Goodbye.
Take me down to the rose ceremony, the fantasy suites, holy matrimony. Oh, won't you please?